Today we're going to look at what to sow undercover and outdoors in March, and take a quick peek at how the plants are doing that we planted already last month. Hey, and how are you doing, fellow dreamers? Let's talk about seed starting for March. Be sure to look at your growing zone and your last expected frost date. It's very important because I'm growing in zone 8B and it might be that you're in zone 5 and you need to adjust a little bit. The last expected frost date here is the 15th of May. I'm in the Netherlands. If you want to figure out when to start your seeds, be sure to look at the other video called When to Start Seeds Indoors. Now that we got all the basics sorted, let's start with the seeds that we can start undercover. We can start out all the same vegetables from February, so definitely check out that video if you haven't already. Let's start with the list, and we're gonna start with the most grown vegetable out there, tomatoes. I must say this was also included in the February list, but for most people it's a better time to start them right now. I've actually sowed mine yesterday and I've put them on the heat mat to start the germination process. Be sure to give them enough space to start out and also give them the right temperature, because the optimum temperature is about 27 degrees Celsius. Next on the list are our peas for pots. Last month I started out our peas for shoots. They're over here and they've grown massively. But this month I'm gonna grow my peas for pots. I love the sweet taste and the bite of a sugar pea more than the snow pea. So I'll be growing loads of these and quite a few less of the other ones. Now peas do like to germinate in temperatures that are like 23 degrees Celsius, so you don't have to go overboard with the heat mat, but because I'm using the long high trays, a heat mat is fine, because by the time the heat is actually to the top of the tray, it's already to about the 25 degrees Celsius. One vegetable that I wanted to start out in March this year was Celeriac. Sadly, the seeds just didn't arrive, they didn't show up, so I might be too late to start them this year. It's best to start them around mid-March, but there are a few varieties that actually need to go in February, so be sure to check the package. We can also start out the Kohlrabi indoors. I'm going to be growing a variety called Blaro because of the deep red purple color. They would like a heat mat to start out because the optimal temperature is 26 degrees. The end of March is also the time to start our melons, and I'm gonna try and grow watermelons this year in the greenhouse, so I'm actually quite excited for that because we can't really grow them in this climate. I need to start them indoors on top of a heat mat. The optimum temperature for germination is about 30 degrees Celsius, and we definitely don't get that in the greenhouse right now or outside whatsoever. So we're gonna start them in here and then see if we can get some watermelons. The rest of this list we can start directly outside in March, starting off with garlic, at least if you haven't done it already. March is going to be the last month for starting the garlic. I must say that starting them now will probably result in small bulbs, but they do like a temperature in between like 5 to 10 degrees Celsius to form their roots and their bulbs, so we're still fine right now. Don't wait too much longer because then you'll be too late. Next up are going to be our broad beans. Same as with the garlic, only if you haven't done it already last year. Since we've had freezing temperatures of like -18 and loads of snowfall for 1 week, my broad beans aren't looking too great. I'm probably gonna add an extra row to make sure we get some harvest out this year. Today is the 15th of March, creating the go-ahead for sowing loads of seeds outside as long as we protect them with some fleece. I'm personally dealing with a few frosty nights in the next days, so I'm gonna plant directly after that. If you have an urge to get early salad harvest, you can start your lettuce right now. Check out the packaging to make sure it's an early spring and not a late summer crop, but if you have the right variety, definitely they can go in right now. Next to lettuce, we can also start out our spinach seeds, and I've started mine indoors last month. They're looking great, but I will definitely add a batch this month directly next to the transplanted spinach. We can also start our radishes directly till the end of March, but be aware of the flea beetle. If it's common in your region, it's better to start them indoors in February and transplant them in March so they are stronger and have a bigger chance of survival. I've done exactly that and actually already transplanted my radishes last week. All the onions and spring onions can also be directly started from mid-March. I started a batch last month indoors with red and white varieties for the bulbs and the spring onions. I'm not sure if I will add any more directly because I already have a lot, but I might do a few when transplanting them at the end of the month. Another vegetable that we can start directly, parsnip. Actually one of the few vegetables that I don't start indoors next to carrots. Carrots we can also not start indoors. Well, we can, but we shouldn't. They don't like to be transplanted, let's put it like that. Parsnips don't really like the heat and they are frost hardy, so don't wait too long sowing these. They do need a minimum of 10 degrees Celsius to germinate, so wait some frosty days if it's getting really bad. Moving down the list to our early brassicas like broccoli and cauliflower. These can go in at the end of March, but be sure to protect them with some fleece from the flea beetle and butterflies. I'm a bigger fan of starting them indoors because of the slugs eating the small plants too much over here, so I'll put them outside when they have 4 to 6 big leaves. And lastly on the list will be a few herbs. Looking at parsley, coriander and dill to be started out in March. I'm going to create a small place in the garden purely for growing herbs this year, so I'm starting out all seeds later this month. A quick recap. Seeds we can start undercover are going to be tomatoes, peas for pots, celeriac, kohlrabi and melons. Starting outside this month, garlic, broad beans, lettuce, spinach, radishes, spring onions and normal onions, parsnips, early brassicas and some herbs. Now before I'm gonna leave, I'm just gonna go in a quick overview of what we already have planted here because it's loads. A few things are in the greenhouse, but there's still a lot to see over here. We're gonna start at the top layer where we have in the back for yellow and red bulb onions. They're actually looking pretty okay. They just started to sprout. I love how onions and leeks first form a little arch and then all of a sudden pop out and show their full length. Right in front of that we have our salad bowl red, and we actually had really poor germination. The seeds were old, almost nothing germinated, but we have a few here, so I'm definitely gonna try and take care of those. In the same tray, right next to it, lamb's lettuce, all looking beautiful. They always look so perfect. They all look the same, they have the same size, they grow the same speed. I really like my lamb's lettuce. We've also started 10 beautiful eggplants. I can't wait to add these in the greenhouse. This is gonna be our first year trying these eggplants because normally we didn't have a spot to place them. In the same tray we got our artichokes, and look at that size. They have grown massively. They still have a long way to go, so they will need to be transplanted later on into bigger pots, but they're looking beautiful. In front of that, on the heat mat, we have all the tomatoes. I got many different sizes and varieties, and I'm gonna basically try and grow these all inside of the greenhouse. I don't wanna put any tomatoes outside anymore after last year's fiasco with the blight. So we're just gonna try and keep them safe indoors. All these small pots are filled with my peppers. These are the cayenne peppers, all of them actually. We got 9 so far and they're doing great. I've transplanted them into the 9 centimeter pots so they have some more space to grow and they've been thriving. In the back, pretty hard to see, but we have our broccoli over there. And actually this is the green normal broccoli, but I forgot my purple broccoli. So those still need to go in, and I will make sure to do that today. In the front here, pointed cabbage, also looking good, but they are lacking a little bit in strength, so I hope they're gonna pick up. I put the fans on top so they have a little bit more resistance, and we'll see if they will become a little bit stronger. Down here on the second layer, we got our shallots and also our spring onions. They're all sprouting and looking beautiful. Spring onions, pretty tiny right now, but give them a week and they'll be big. Then we've got this massive tray over here with salads. We got from left to right, salad bowl green, grenobles, and arugula. I actually spot that they need some water, so I'll do that in a bit. But other than that, they're looking beautiful. And in the back, a tray filled with arugula, or salad rocket, however you guys want to call it. And I just noticed the snow peas are sprouting. On the right side of the tray, it's filled up with the snow peas. The left is filled with sugar peas. They don't show any sign just yet. And over here on the bottom, the last tray is filled with leeks, and actually, there was a problem here. I left the left side on a heat mat and the leeks couldn't take it. So be aware, leeks should not go on a heat mat. And we're growing some more peppers down here. These are our YOLO Wonder peppers, also looking great and almost ready for transplanting. And that's it, my suggestions for what to start out in March, outdoors and undercover. Be sure to check out my February sowing video if you haven't already to get even more suggestions. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked it, leave a like. Consider subscribing to the channel or becoming a Patreon and supporting the channel. But most of all, don't forget to live the farm dream. Bite of the sugar snap pea, sugar pot pea.